Rick Ross just pulled one of the slickest moves in recent memory, turning Big Meech into a pawn in what insiders are calling a $120 million setup. Now 50 Cent's roasting the whole thing like it was a comedy special. But the crazy part, everyone saw it coming. Everyone except Meech. Ross came in acting like a business savior, flashing promises of movie deals, major projects, and Hollywood glory. But when the lights went off, he vanished. Meech and his son were left empty-handed, watching from the sidelines while Ross kept living like royalty in his mansions, sipping success built off someone else's name.
I feel bad for Lil Meech. I don't feel bad for no grown man on this planet. Like, I'm a grown man. Why the f I gotta feel bad for another grown man? Like, you a grown man too. What you asking for my sympathy for? You be alright.
People in the streets said the writing was on the wall long before it hit the blogs. When Big Meech walked out of prison last October, the world expected fireworks. The return of a king ready to rebuild his empire the right way. Fans thought this was his moment to turn his street legend into a real business empire. But then Rick Ross showed up, talking about $120 million film deals, million-dollar partnerships, and grand plans for the future. It sounded like Meech was finally about to cash in on his legacy. But when the hype faded, there was nothing. No deals, no money, no empire, just dust. Ross had used the BMF story to boost his own image and fuel his long-running beef with 50 Cent, leaving Meech hanging while he flexed his fake power plays for the world to see.
A guy, I don't think there's a bad guy.
No, yes it is. That Vlad, let's talk about it.
I think Meech is the one that made a mistake.
No.
No? You think 50?
No.
Lil Meech?
No.
Who am I forgetting now?
Rick Ross knew perfectly damn well what he was doing and what that would lead to. And if he was a real friend to Meech.
The streets caught on quick. Nobody was fooled by Ross for a second. From the start, people called him out for chasing clout, not building legacy. Everyone in the game knew who really carried BMF through the years: 50 Cent. He was the one who put up the money for the BMF series, paid for Lil Meech's acting lessons, and turned him from a street name into a Hollywood face. Meanwhile, Ross was all talk, headlines, and self-promotion, adding nothing but noise to the name. Still, Meech leaned toward Ross and distanced himself from the man who had kept his father's legend alive. That choice caused real tension behind closed doors. Even Tony Yayo called it straight. He said 50 had stood by Lil Meech since day one. No gimmicks, no fake loyalty. But now word is, Meech's patience is running out. His money's drying up, the pressure's mounting, and the truth's starting to sting. Ross was never in it for loyalty or brotherhood. He just wanted another way to poke at 50 and fan the flames. And the sad part? It worked. Meech stopped looking like a boss and started looking like a piece in someone else's game. That's when 50 decided he had seen enough. He came back swinging, using his classic trolling style, saying Ross asked Lil Meech for his father's address just so he could send over some Wingstop wings.
I wasn't going to address this because I'm not trying to let nobody trick me off the streets. But I never folded, never told, never will. Death before dishonor, always with me. So I'm doing this for my loved ones and the support of my friends.
But that jab was deeper than it looked. 50 wasn't just cracking jokes. He was sending a message. Ross wasn't feeding the Meech legacy. He was feeding off it. The humor hit because there was truth behind it. Then things turned personal. 50 started dropping receipts, claiming he had to clean up behind the scenes more than anyone realized. He said he personally got Lil Meech into rehab after showing up drunk on set, throwing up during weapons training, and losing focus during filming. Then came the story about the whippets found in Meech's truck. Nitrous oxide canisters tied to reckless behavior. 50 laughed about how he had to Google what whippets were, but his point was clear. While everyone else was playing games, he was the only adult keeping the show alive. He painted himself as the protector, the one holding Lil Meech's career together, while Ross and Big Meech risked their reputations for pride. Still, Lil Meech stayed loyal to Ross, showing up in clubs and grinning for the cameras like nothing was wrong. That's when the streets started laughing for real, saying the BMF name had lost its weight. That so-called alliance built on hype and ego fell apart faster than anyone thought. And when power star Michael Rainey Jr. jumped into the mix, the message hit harder. He said straight up he didn't feel sorry for Lil Meech or Big Meech, because grown men should have seen this coming from a mile away.
Ricky Rose, the time has come. Meech home. February 13th, get your tickets right now, it's going down. We know Florida gonna be there, Miami gonna be there. The legend himself gonna be in the building, making history. Meech, who else coming?
The whole nation, Detroit, St. Louis, California, everybody.
Atlanta, Georgia. ATL, stand up. Woo. We're gonna make history. Get your ticket.
That clip of Michael Rainey Jr. spread through social media like wildfire, and when 50 Cent saw it, he wasted no time backing it up. He stood behind Rainey's words with full force, doubling down on the idea that the Meech camp looked weak and misled. 50 did not flinch or soften his stance. He stamped it as fact, calling it another lesson in bad loyalty and poor judgment. And truth be told, Rick Ross abandoning people once things get rough is not a new story. Word on the street says he has done it before. Allegedly, Ross once left members of his own crew stranded in Canada after a brawl broke out. They got jumped while he slipped away, only to show up later claiming it was a test of loyalty. That move summed up everything people already thought about Ross: cold, strategic, and selfish. It fit the pattern perfectly. According to insiders, that's Ross in a nutshell, always thinking 3 steps ahead, but only when it benefits him.
Do want to do a BMF film because you've been entertained by a lackluster, small budget series. Now it's time to do a big budget film. Which director? Shout out to my homie F. Gary Gray, Antoine Foucault, what's up? Tarantino. It's a lot of legends. This is gonna be big, I can feel it. I'm just talking.
Then Whack 100 jumped into the mix, throwing gasoline on the fire. He called Ross the real villain in the whole story. According to Whack, Ross was never loyal to Big Meech. He just used the man's legacy as ammunition in his quiet war against 50 Cent. And he did not sugarcoat it either. Whack said if Ross truly wanted to build something meaningful, he would have kept it behind closed doors, handling business like a man instead of chasing headlines. But Ross turned everything into a spectacle. Every deal, every mention, every flex. It was all about him. He paraded Meech's name around for attention, not respect, and that said everything. He was never building an empire for Big Meech. He was building a spotlight for himself. He sold Meech a dream filled with empty promises and fake loyalty, while secretly feeding his own fame. Behind the scenes, Ross had been turning Big Meech against 50, the only person who had actually helped his son rebuild from the ground up. And when it was all said and done, all that was left were broken deals, a fractured legacy, and headlines that told the real story. Ross got what he wanted, and everyone else got played.
Who own your masters? Who own your masters? I buy your masters. You better shut up. I will buy your master.
You know, but when you take Lil Meech and you put him in acting school, you know, you take him from Detroit. I remember him rapping when he was rapping and nobody was helping him from what I seen, because I remember when Lil Meech was rapping.
Ross suddenly cut off all communication with Meech, leaving him hanging right when the buzz around him started to die down. That was when reality hit. Ross only invests in what benefits him, and Meech was no longer profitable. Whispers began to spread that Ross was the real reason Meech's Welcome Home benefit event got cancelled, not 50 Cent as many assumed. Insiders claimed the truth was much colder. Ross allegedly wanted to block Meech's comeback before it even began. He wanted him pushed to the sidelines, forgotten, while he played the hero online for clout. To many, that was the ultimate betrayal, selling out a man's legacy for attention instead of rebuilding his name. That moment marked the turning point where the streets stopped backing Meech. And when he tried to fire back, calling 50 Cent an internet gangster who hides behind a phone for fame, the damage was already done. Nobody believed it. The streets saw right through it. It was desperation, plain and simple. By then, the jokes and memes had already buried his image. People laughed, commented, and moved on, leaving Meech looking outplayed and exposed. And when you trace Ross's past, the pattern stands out clear as day. Every alliance ends the same way, with someone else taking the loss while Ross walks away untouched.
Is there anything about Ross and his career that you have any respect for? Oh, no, there's nothing there. I never wanted to work with him.
Look closer at Rick Ross's history, and the same pattern repeats itself. Opportunism over loyalty, every single time. Almost every major partnership he has built in hip-hop eventually crashed, leaving someone else holding the bag. From Maybach Music's early glory days to his public falling outs with former allies, Ross has built a career out of turning friendships into headlines. Just look at his own camp. Whale, Meek Mill, Gunplay, all once stood proudly under the MMG banner. But over time, each began voicing frustrations about shady contracts, missing payments, and empty promises. In public, Ross played the supportive boss. But behind closed doors, the whispers told a different story. one fueled by control, ego, and manipulation.
Guy, I don't think there's a bad guy.
No, yes it is. That Vlad, let's talk about it.
I think Meech is the one that made a mistake.
No,
No? You think 50?
no,
Lil Meech.
no.
Who am I forgetting now?
Rick Ross knew perfectly damn well what he was doing and what that would lead to. And if he was a real friend to Meech, unless he was looking to get 50 out the way, he would have dealt with Meech in the shadows, because he knows me and this dude who is gonna react if he sees me dealing with this dude that he has business with. And there was a lot of business left to be done, right? Rick Ross, bro, could have done whatever he was gonna do in the shadows if he really honored and respected Meech. Trust me, Meech wished none of this was going.
Even Meek Mill, once seen as Ross's right-hand man, eventually stepped back after realizing the empire was never built for everyone to win. And now, it seems that same playbook has been used again with Big Meech. The $120 million project Ross bragged about turned out to be smoke and mirrors, while he walked away with yet another round of free publicity. People have started noticing the pattern. Every time Ross's name fades from the spotlight, he finds someone new with street credibility to stand beside, someone whose name still holds weight. Meanwhile, 50 Cent has been doing the opposite, turning real-life stories into billion-dollar television hits. That's the difference between them. While Ross keeps chasing controversy for relevance, 50 builds legacies through vision and strategy. The streets see it. The fans see it. Even insiders admit Ross might be playing checkers while 50 is running chess. The question now is simple. How many more people will Ross pull into his orbit before they realize the game? Because if history has shown anything, it's that loyalty never lasts long around him. For Ross, clout always comes first. The pattern does not lie. His entire empire runs on borrowed legacies.
Now,
Guy, I don't think there's a bad guy.
No, yes it is. That Vlad, let's talk about it.
I think Meech is the one that made a mistake.
No,
No? You think 50?
no,
Lil Meech.
no.
Who am I forgetting now?
Rick Ross knew perfectly damn well what he was doing and what that would lead to. And if he was a real friend to Meech.
That BMF track had Big Meech convinced Ross was standing beside him like family. But what if that loyalty was nothing more than strategy? What if Ross never wanted to honor Big Meech, but to become him in the eyes of the culture? When you really break it down, it makes perfect sense. Ross built his entire image off names and stories that were never his to begin with. It's all out there. His whole identity came from the real, freeway Rick Ross, the street legend who was behind bars, while the rapper used his name, image, and story to create a multi-million-dollar brand. When the real Rick Ross came home, he confronted him, even took him to court to reclaim his name. But Ross never backed down. He doubled up, profiting even more off the myth he built. Then came Larry Hoover, another incarcerated icon Ross name, dropped in songs, interviews, and visuals, once again gaining clout off another man's reputation. Same formula, different legend, and now, with Big Meech, it looks like the cycle is repeating. Another borrowed name, another twisted legacy, another man left in the dark while Ross basks in the spotlight. The picture is clear. Rick Ross has made a career off other people's pain, turning their stories into his own success. And when the smoke settles, he's always the one left standing. 50 Cent saw it coming from the start. He's been saying Ross never earned respect through authenticity, only through marketing. And fans online are echoing the same truth. One viral comment read, "Rick Ross is a fraud, period." Another said, "Ross ruined the whole legacy chasing clout." The people have spoken. But one question still hangs in the air. Is Ross just playing the game? Or did he truly leave Big Meech behind? Was Meech loyal to the wrong man? Or simply outplayed in a bigger hustle? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like, and subscribe for more real talk and deep dives. This story is nowhere near finished.